Lemongrass has become very popular, especially with Oriental cooking. Those swollen bases are edible and have many uses. Now, growing lemongrass from seed can be problematic, especially in colder climates. So in today's episode, I'm going to show you an easy and cheap way to grow lemongrass at home. I'm Tony O'Neill and this is UK Year We Grow, and on this channel we deal with all things gardening, poultry keeping and beekeeping. If you want that perfect garden to relax in or just want to grow your own nutrient dense foods, then start now by clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified each time I release new content just like this. Lemongrass reaches about 5 feet in height. Coming from the tropical Indies, it's not frost hardy. So if you want to grow lemongrass in the UK or in a colder climate, something that's colder than zone 9A, then you really want to be growing it in a pot. And the reason for that is that you can take that pot indoors through the winter and keep it from frost. Although you can sow lemongrass from seed, it isn't recommended. There are 2 varieties of lemongrass, one from the East Indies, one from the West Indies. Now, the lemongrass that's most used in Asian cooking really struggles to set its own seed. Now, if you're just growing for ornamental purposes, then you can grow from seed, but this really does struggle to get going. You can give yourself a head start by root division or even growing it from shop-bought lemongrass. Now, if you're using shop-bought lemongrass, then there's 2 things to consider. Number 1, it needs to be organic, because any other lemongrass is likely to have been sprayed with some sort of rooting hormone to prevent them rooting. The other thing, which is number 2, is you want to make sure that that lemongrass has its basal plate still attached, because without the basal plate then you won't get any roots. To grow lemongrass, simply peel that outer leaf away and place it into a glass of water. Place that glass on the windowsill or on preferably a heat mat in the windowsill and allow that to sit there for a few days. Make sure you change the water every couple of days to keep that fresh. And after about a week, you will start to see these little roots appear. Spring is the perfect time to start growing lemongrass, and by using shop-bought lemongrass, you give yourself a major head start, especially in colder climates like the UK. Now, to grow your lemongrass, simply pot them on. You take these lemongrass and place them into pots. You can plant a single lemongrass in a pot or 3 or 4 like I am here. Be sure to be careful with the lemongrass because the roots are very fragile on the basal plate at the moment. Once you've potted them on, then you can move this plant pot into a bigger pot as it grows. But once you've finished with that, it needs to go outside into a sunny, sheltered position. If the temperature is going to drop below 5 degrees, then take it into a tunnel or somewhere warmer or at home just to make sure that it doesn't get any damage. Lemongrass likes a good rich soil to grow in. A perfect way to do this is use a good quality multi-purpose compost. I'm using Levington's Advanced F2, which is a soil and modular compost, and add some vermiculite to aid in drainage, and I also add some leaf mold for body. Simply mix 2 parts compost with 1 part vermiculite, 1 part leaf mold, and fill your pots. So harvesting your lemongrass is very straightforward. Simply pull out chunks of lemongrass, cut off the leaves and leave you with about 4 inches of stem, because that's what we're going to utilize when we're cooking Asian meals and things like that. Lemongrass, the reason I'm growing this is because it's fantastic at mimicking the Nasonov gland of honeybees, and I will be using some of this and making my own lemongrass oil so that I can use that for baiting swarm traps. Now, the good thing about lemongrass is that if it gets too big, you can just split that root ball in half or even quarters and replant that, taking you back to stage 1. And this is a fantastic way to reinvigorate your lemongrass plant if it gets too big and root bound. So to get the best from your lemongrass, place it into a warm polytunnel or greenhouse, especially in the colder spring months. As you can see, I've got mine here in the seed room that's in the back of my polytunnel. This room is heated slightly and the lemongrass is at its highest point. And the reason for this is it's going to give it a fantastic start. It's going to get those roots going, and we'll in no time at all see all of these leaves start coming through. Then we can start the feeding and planting on. Now, I'm growing my lemongrass to use in the kitchen, but I'm also growing, as discussed earlier on, to make lemongrass oil. And you may have seen me using this before when trying to catch honeybee swarms. And I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in that playlist. But what it does, it mimics what's known as the Nasonoff gland that a honeybee produces, and they produce this pheromone which tells other bees where home is, and it's a fantastic way for catching swarms. Lemongrass oil is quite expensive, and if I can grow it myself, it's much easier to get one of these, bash it and put that in the hive itself. So now you know why I'm growing lemongrass. But lemongrass has loads of other benefits. Did you know it can help stop the growth of yeasts and bacteria? It also has compounds in it that can help with reducing swelling and pain. It can reduce fevers. It can also help with cholesterol in the bloodstream. And it can also aid in women's menstrual cycles. It's a fantastic herb to grow. So with all its health and culinary benefits, lemongrass is definitely worth a spot in my garden. Question of the day: do you grow lemongrass at home? If you do, let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing with your friends. And once you've done that, you can click the subscribe button right here and follow these videos right here. I'm Tony O'Neill, this is UK Here We Grow, and remember folks, you reap what you sow. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.